project. And so we're bringing our venture capital fund behind our innovation lab, where we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we'll be investing in a lot of the companies that come out to the lab. And I know that Roberto, wanted me to speak about the three quick tips that I always give entrepreneurs ahead of a pitch, but also the investors, or judges ahead of those pitches, so they can start thinking about this sort of mentality of the Valley. I think first and foremost, it's the team, right? It's really difficult for one person to create an amazing startup, right? You really need a team. And I always recommend that when you do your pitches, you highlight that team, right? What is it about this team that's going to allow them to go through the roller coaster of entrepreneurship? Because there's going to be a lot of ups, and you're going to wake up and say, this is the most amazing thing in the world, and there's going to be a lot of downs. We'll say, why the heck am I doing this, right? And sometimes they're going to say even worse than that. And we've all gone through it. So it's that team that lets you go through it, right? That team. And also about the team, talk about how the different skill sets come together to create something very solid, right? So we don't want to see 5 engineers with no one that can sell the idea, or 5 salespeople that no one that can actually build it, right? It's complementary teams are very, very strong. So always highlight the team in your pitch. Very important. 2, highlight what makes your what's your value proposition? What makes your product different? You don't have to be the first one out there, right? I always say, when Google came out, Yahoo was already around. Google was just a much easier and better way to search for things. When Facebook came out, MySpace was already around, but it did something much, much easier and smoother to do. When Uber came out, we had billions of taxis all over the world, right? So you don't have to be the first, don't worry about that, but show what's different and why are people going to gravitate towards your product versus other products. That's also very important. And then the third is, this is beyond the pitch, and just in terms of mentality for both investors and startups, share the wealth, right? And another way of saying, don't be greedy. And I think a lot of times startups are so focused on raising as much money as possible that they say, I'm raising $2 million to get my prototype out. It makes no sense, right? And also, beyond the pitch, when you start actually having conversations with investors, because we've been in a lot of conversations with entrepreneurs and investors, the cap table is a really important thing. And the top 3 tips I always give to entrepreneurs who are going to build their cap table and investors who are going to see it is, 1, no one in that cap table should be more than 30%. It doesn't make sense, because then that person is accumulating all the wealth around an army of people that are actually building that company. Second, if you have core people to the team, those core people typically should have a pretty significant stake, right, in the company. And that can vary as big as the company is, or the valuation, or at what point they came in. But the core team should be significant stakeholders. And that's important not just from a team dynamic. Investors want to see that. Because when investors see only one person has 50% and the rest have 0 or 0.5, they're not going to be confident that those people are going to stick around, right? So that's very, very important. And obviously, when you think about investing, I always recommend to investors, it's not about controlling the company, right? It's not about having 40 or 50% of this company. You are an investor, you're not the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur should have the majority stake. So anyway, that's something that I like to share all the time, because I know here, sometimes we've seen cap tables and they look very, very rare. And if you have a hope or wish to raise money in the Silicon Valley, it's really important to know that the cap table is very a critical element of what investors are going to use in their checklist to make an investment. So that's it. I'm very, very excited to hear the pitches, and I know we're always blown away to hear them in Guadalajara, so I'm excited. Gracias.